Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Candid Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evan Sokinya. I'm glad that you're here with us for these conversations. I'm joined by Professor Herman Manyora. How are you, sir?
Wonderful and wonderful. Yes.
How is it going so far?
Well, going is good.
We are waiting.
We are in this wonderful country. Yes.
And we're still witnessing and waiting to see everything that will actually take place after the demonstrations were called off. And right now, at least, there is some sort of reason that prevailed in the country, and we are witnessing this sort of environment where we're experiencing some sort of peace as a country. Some people are wondering till when. Anyway, that notwithstanding, I want us to talk matters that are pertaining to the Ministry of Education with regards to the funding of the institutions of higher learning, especially the universities. You know very well that these institutions have experienced cash crunch before, and these are topics that we've discussed here. The government has had a problem with funding some of these universities. That has also led to the crisis that we witnessed at Egerton University, the financial reforms and all that took place at the University of Nairobi, Kenyatta University, and even the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, just to mention but a few, have all been affected and badly hit by this cash crunch. Now, recently, the government came up with what we call a new kind of funding method.
Model, yeah.
That new funding model, I just want to get it from you. What strikes you most about this new funding model that was launched by the government?
I think there is, in a way, the feeling, and I think the reality, that those in charge do not seem to understand the situation. Yeah. Because you see, you can fault the other system that was there. But this one, in a Kenyan situation, who is going to be assessing who is needy and who is not needy? It's not a very easy thing, my friend.
But it's
not very easy.
The government
this is Kenya.
capable.
This Kenya, many programs that have, many funding programs that have had that approach, where people have to be identified on the basis of how vulnerable, how needy they are. Most of these things have not worked very well. So that's one of the problems. But the bigger problem is this country, in its state of development, in terms of what it needs in training, manpower, research, its needs in that area, in education, in terms of poverty levels, in terms of the power of the average person, to be able to finance education. Where this country is, if you look at those things collectively, you can't escape the conclusion that university education should be free. So all these things we are going around and doing things, setting commissions, working parties, or funding models, it's rubbish. University education in this country ought to be free. F-R-E-E. Free. If you consider the factors I've told you, the poverty levels, the purchasing power and therefore the power to meet education, the country's need for manpower, for educated people, for all these kind of, if you put these factors together, the state of the economy, the ability of the country to finance certain projects, if you look at all those factors, considered, education in this country ought to be free, but more so at the university level. Because today, it's not just a question of paying fees. It's a question of the struggles and the pain the students go through to survive at university. Let me tell you, because I've also been at university at the time when a university was more or less a university, almost like university. I want to tell you today, the business of learning and teaching and scholarship in general is not a small matter. It is easier and less demanding to go to the shamba with a jembe, a hoe, to till the land than to engage in academics at the university. It is so demanding on you. It is so sapping energy, psychologically and everything-wise, that a student at the university ought to be given an environment in which to study. Not chasing after how do I get sukuma wiki for my meal, trying to cook it themselves. No. We need to give university students free education and ask them to concentrate and make sure they do concentrate on nothing but their studies. So that we can then give them some little loan for upkeep. Organized in such a way, there are kitchens. Every university ought to have kitchens, several kitchens, where students can go and eat. Those kitchens are run privately. University staff can organize themselves to run some of those kitchens.
But we have the messes in our
No, you don't get what I'm saying. Those messes are useless. You know how they work.
So how
I'm saying you commercialize the kitchens. So kitchen 1 is commercialized. It's given to somebody to run. You get it? A very serious person or university students, for example, university lecturers and many staff, organize themselves and take over. Along the way, we've been generating funds at the university. The way it began with Chiromo Mortuary. The people work there, turned Chiromo into a business, and they were able to share the profits with the university. So you say, okay, 100 members of staff have teamed up and they are running Kitchen 1, University of Nairobi. And there are standards they must meet. And there is a costing agreed on. And now, instead of students being given loan directly to go and buy food, they are given vouchers, which they use to eat in that kitchen. So that the work of a student at the University of Nairobi or any other university ni kusoma. Hapana kutafuta sukuma wiki na kutafuta ugali na kuanza kupika. You can't do both of them. Students are not reading today because they are spending more of their energy and time looking at how to survive. So university education ought to be free, and then loans are given to enable students live a decent life in terms of meals and even clothing, travel, and but education is free. Tuition is free. Accommodation free. Then that accommodation could be charged on the loan. That's what we need. But these models that are coming up, all of them will not work. Absolutely.
But basically, I listened to...
Because you even say a family will pay 21,000 shillings. You think that's a joke to an average family in this country? 21,000, it may look very simple to us.
Of course.
Yeah.
But then you're talking about the university being free for everyone.
Yes.
But on the other end, I listened to the president earlier on, even before forming this party, the commission, or rather, let me call it the working party.
Yes.
That was mandated to look into the reforms pertaining to the Ministry of Education in this country and give us a way forward. Well, he said that there is no way you're going to expect us that you are a capable parent.
Yes.
Are you able to pay fee, yet you expect the government to do that for you? That is impossible. So that is what he was saying.
No, you see, this is born out of our own stupidity.
Why?
Look, when we started these programs of free things, free primary education, free secondary education, we gave it to roll out to everybody. That's not how it's supposed to be done. We are supposed to have, let me put it this way. Every university student from my time would be applying for that money when it became a loan. It wasn't a loan before, but at some point it became a loan. Every student will apply for that loan. A student, loans used to be picked from places physical those days when they started and delivered to some place physical, initially to a bank where you come from, maybe KCB or whatever, I can't remember. A student will be driving a Mercedes Sports and filling in the loans board form. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying.
Of course I do get you.
That's where we got it wrong. So we need to retrace the step. That when we are giving education, we are basically making people who have money get ashamed of queuing. Queuing for everybody for that money. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I get you. But then the president now, looking at the new model that has been proposed by the president, of course, he said it's going to be implemented with the incoming students who will be joining perhaps in September. But let us look at this. He said that those who will be categorized as the most vulnerable will almost attend their school almost free. That is what he's talking about, because
the question is it easy to identify those who are very vulnerable in this country?
Don't you think the government is up to
It's
the
not
task?
very easy. But the one I want us to start with is let Kenyans know it is shameful to be on the dole. That you go getting free things. because you can't afford it. That in fact, even as you get a free ride, you ought to have some feeling of, how can I get out of this? Even children, a child beyond 20 years should be ashamed of being fed by their parents. That we must bring that kind of culture among our people, so that when we are offering free education to students, people should stand out and say, not me. Me, I'm okay. Let what should have gone to me go to a needier person. That means if we had planned to give 40,000 to needy students, because a good number have pulled out, we can now step it up to 60. And that model can operate even in high schools. Let's go to Lenana High School. I am very sure in a school like Lenana High School, it works a bit in Alliance High School. Parents in Lenana High School, I have done it when my son was there. I've contributed towards paying for somebody's fees, 1 or 2 students. Parents in Lenana High School who have been asked to pay 60,000 can volunteer to pay 200,000. They are there. If you bring them together, you don't play tricks like they play tricks, oh, your children will die hungry, let us increase fees. Not that way. How many people are willing to pay 3 times their fees along the Starehe Boys Center model? That's the direction we need to go. So that those who can afford, 1, do not queue with those who can't afford. 2, they are encouraged to support those who can't afford. That's the direction to move. But basically, education ought to be free in this country. Because the income that people in this country have cannot sustain an education. It can't. It will be bad. It will be poor education. It will not be good education. And a good example is the university, where children from needy homes spend 90% of their time and energy just trying to survive at the university. So why are we wasting money? Why are we lying to ourselves? Such a person can help society tomorrow. When you go to university and all your time is spent looking at how you survive. Some of them are even from the little they get paying fees for their siblings back at home. Can such a person read?
Okay. Now, I'm now trying to look at this situation. Therefore, do you then support this new model? Do you then think that perhaps it is going to be some sort of a solution to what we are witnessing?
No, I don't think. Because first of all, it's not well thought out. There are many loopholes which we need to look at. I also very much doubt the right persons who are involved. This ought to involve many stakeholders. I think a lot more than they consulted. I'm also not sure the universities themselves. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But I'm not sure the universities were fully involved in this model. And they are the main users, the user. If a user is not involved, you get it wrong from the first go.
But Prof, come to think of it.
You can't call Vice Chancellor at the State House one day and say, now this is what we are doing. That's not how it's done. The university's management, together with staff, faculty, ought to have brainstorming sessions that last some little while until they agree on a model funding formula. And then they share this with government and other stakeholders. Then something good will come out of it. But when a few fellows sit down in some room and think they can design a model that can do funding for universities, it can't work.
But of course, let's face reality, Prof. The few individuals that you're talking about are actually intellectuals and experts in matters of education, because I remember that party that was the working party that was formed by the president to look into education matters consisted of professors and vice chancellors and serious men in the education sector in this country.
Do
you think that they can shoot themselves on the foot?
Look at me straight in the eyes. That team did not have serious people. I live in this country.
What do you mean?
I live in this country. And I know who are serious.
Your vice chancellor was there. Is he not serious?
I know who are serious. I will look at a team and tell you this team is serious. I know. When you tell me CBC and I argue and somebody tells me the university is involved, I tell them no. I know if universities are involved in this CBC thing or in this model. I would know. Taking Manyora there is not enough. It ought to be something that really is generated from the university. People must think and talk I remember when CBC started, just about 3 of us from the university were engaged at the public level, in the media and elsewhere. I didn't see anybody. And the people I would expect to be there were not there. So that when CBC finally pours its first product, the universities will be receiving people, they have no idea of how they have come up. Same with 844. The universities just sat there when 844 was being discussed. Then they received students, not knowing what to do with them. I remember writing about it, and I made a lot of enemies. My children then were still in primary schools. In fact, they were victimized. That was, I think, 1990. When the first cohort of 844 in engineering, almost the entire class failed, University of Nairobi. That's the time when we lowered entry from B to C+. And there were so many teething problems at the university when they received these first 844 students to indicate they were not part of the process from the start. The same is with CBC. And I dare say the same is with this funding. I don't think the universities are fully involved. And the other people, other institutions, other parties, I don't think they are fully involved because they will come up with something better. But well, it's a good start from the government. We must congratulate the government for seeing that there's need because the universities are in a mess. But that's not enough. Unless you deal with management issues, even if you give each university 50 billion today, they will still just eat the money.
Okay.
Yeah. But I must go back. This country must seriously consider free education, at least for universities. Otherwise, the people we are putting through the university are just, there will be no use to society. Because you can't take a student at university, he's struggling with how to eat, and expect this can be a product you can be proud of. No, you can't. We need to give them free education, a little loan for food, well-processed, programmed, so that those kitchens receive students vouchers and give them free food against the vouchers.
Okay.
And the vouchers are charged against a loan account. Yeah.
Does it mean for you this model doesn't reflect any...
It doesn't solve anything.
It doesn't solve anything.
We are just back where we were. Universities will still have cash problems. Students will continue struggling. Education will continue being useless at the university level. It can't. We need to think harder. I'm saying it's a good start. It's an effort from government. But we needed to have thought a little harder than they have thought. Yes. But at the end of the day, unless you make university education free, you'll never have good products from our universities.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do hope that the government is watching and listening to the views from the public here. Of course, I've been having this conversation here with the Professor Herman Manyora. Do not fail to tune into some of our programs that will be coming up next with General Kabiro and, of course, Richard Mwenja on the other end. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Oking.